gonna lock his dick off like a chicken head.
We're gonna do Gregg Araki, the filmmaker, writer, director.
I feel like he's throwing forward, not sure truthfully about anything else at this point because I don't know. I'm honestly really basing that off of the little I've seen of him from interviews and his work. And his work does ring a little bit throwing forward to me in a similar vein to Bret Easton Ellis. And what I was saying with Bret Easton Ellis, he does kind of have, and maybe this is a three thing where they kind of have like a like set outfit or set sort of aesthetic, which his is sort of, even though he's not always wearing a tank top, it's this like, yeah, either like shirtless or like revealing tank top aesthetic when I think of him. See that sort of like button shirt, like button low type of thing. Like that's just like the image I think of when I think of him. And maybe that's because that's sort of like a prevalent like style in his films. But that's for some reason that's what I think of when I think of him.
I almost wonder if he's got a seven head because he looks very bright, smiley.
I would not be surprised if he had a seven head at all.
He looks confident as fuck too. Like, he could even be a 378 because I think
Yeah, I could see that for sure.
a wing 478 would probably make some pretty fucked up stuff. So like
His
artistically.
his his movies are extremely sexual. They all have this like every single one that I've seen. And I haven't seen them all, but I've read about them all, and they all are like just so sexual, like Kaboom, everything. Um, Even I watched the first two episodes of a new series he did in 2018 called Now Apocalypse, and it just felt like you know, I don't know if it's a three wing four thing, but Bret, he is obsessed with the same themes throughout all his work. And I feel like Araki, it's very similar, where he's kind of chasing the like everything is like a different iteration of the same themes he's going after. I think that's really interesting.
It looks like, I mean, obviously Brett hasn't made very much in the film world. Um, we made that web series, but this aesthetic does seem seven influence because it's more like like tacky being like I like this is the kind of aesthetic that I like bright colors. Like it's kind of like
What is John Waters type?
oh yeah, I think John Waters has got to have a seven head. I wondered about him
Oh,
too, like
absolutely.
or seven. I don't
Because
know.
I think he's the next step from John Waters. He's very like you can tell influenced by John Waters at least, and maybe even like the '90s John Waters in a to a degree.
Yeah, I wanted to do John Waters a while ago. We should do him.
Oh,
And
definitely. I love him.
yeah, this seems the repent now.
Yeah.
And
But
this
Rocky has that sort of 4-5 surrealist, absurdist tinge because fucking um Nowhere has this whole it has a literal like Kafka ending where the guy turns into a roach. And it's like which the poster boy for absurdism is Kafka. I'm not sure what his type is. Do you know?
I think I've seen people think he's like maybe a five wing four or something.
I
So
could see that for sure. So that's like that, duh. So, these filmmakers having that through line of five wing four or any sort of 5-4 combination, and then Kafka being the sort of god, and then this movie literally ending with a homage to Kafka is like so fitting to me. That like really speaks to some sort of 4 or 5 influence, which is I think obvious with, Brett and Harmony Korine and even Vincent Gallo, which uh is interesting.
yeah, yeah. And like I think seven amps up the absurdity and makes it more splashy and colorful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's sort of like that sort of kinetic, like very like all over the place, or sort of like just energetic vibe to it, which his movies are very energetic. They're very like I've heard him describe because Nowhere was described as the M like the surreal 90210, which I never watched that, but like I guess that makes sense. I
Yeah,
just watched Nowhere last week and it fucking pumped me up. I was like, wow, this is awesome. Like it was very inspiring. because the first movie I watched from him like 2 weeks ago was A Mysterious Skin, and that has more of a that's the first thing he ever did that was an adaptation that was based off a book, and you can kind of tell because while it still fits his themes, it is a little bit like more serious, but it's so fucking good. I love that movie. And I think I said this in the Discord. I think that guy right there, Brady Corbett, the blonde kid, is a 9, and that Joseph Gordon-Levitt is a 4 in the film, and so that's a fucking super interesting like just relationship in that movie. It's really cool. Yeah, in the movie he's like a teenage prostitute, and the thing is they were both molested by their baseball coach, and so that's kind of what brings them together, and they both deal with it in different ways. And so the 9 character kind of dissociates and thinks that aliens abducted him, and the 4 character just goes into like straight up sex work and fucks all these random dudes in his neighborhood. And I'm like, yeah, that makes total sense. So it's kind of interesting.
Really weird tonight. Something's gonna happen.
Me too.
What's your name? There you go. Is it cool if I just call you X?
There's something evil about him.
Be sick. Sick to be sick. Big up, girlie.
What are you gonna do? Shoot us? Big favors, huh?
Well, pardon me for rescuing you ingrained in us. The suspects appear to be anyone.
Heterosexual movie by Gregg Araki. It's pretty not bad heterosexual, actually, if I remember.
No, it's not. It's literally not like.
Yeah, right. Thick. I never had sex with an animal.
Yes, you know.
Should be considered armed and dangerous.
Here's me, Jordan.
Ever done that? Like sex with 2 people at the same time? Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I love you, no. You said you love me?
You know that I really only love you.
Love you can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, he's got to have a sex, I think.
One thing I noticed in the couple works of his that I watch is there's always a character who I think to me is like the 4 and who's the 9, and who is very like elusive and doesn't, really want to be tied down. And there's the 9 who wants, is, raw and putting their things right out there and kind of like, this sort of like dreamy, blobbier character. And that's present in I watched Nowhere, Mysterious Skin, and then some of Doom Generation, and now Apocalypse, and that dynamic is in all of them. So I think that's really interesting, and very interesting if he's not a 9 or a 4. So that's like kind of speaks to that Bret Easton Ellis thing of like observing characters and attachment type thing of like seeing people in and he definitely has an obsessive streak because he's obsessed with the same theme of like adolescence, rebellion, coming of age. Like because all his movies are basically tackle that theme in different ways. And I haven't seen all of them, but from what I can tell, they basically all do that, which is really cool.
You know what? I could almost see, because his stuff's very sexually charged, I could almost see that being an SX first or second thing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely first or second because it's such a part of like the first scene of the TV show he had in 2019 on Showtime, Now Apocalypse, is literally fucking. It's just 2 guys fucking for no reason. It doesn't even like lead anywhere. And his shit is so sexually charged, and it's oftenly like not traditionally sexually charged. It's like usually like group sex or like like some sort of like 3-way dynamic or some sort of like jealousy thing. Not even jealousy. It's very interesting. It definitely seems like it's like I like that he tackles like hetero shit from a gay perspective, because it's very like there's not as much of a jealousy component to it, which is really cool.
Hi, I'm Gregg Araki. Thank you for coming to Amazon to see my film. Mysterious Skin is actually the only movie I've ever done that is adapted from another medium, the book, the novel by Scott Hahn. And it was really actually kind of a cool experience to write an adapted screenplay. It's the first time I've ever done it. In the sense that
Are you drinking vodka orange juice, or is that just orange juice?
No, it's a screwdriver.
I was like, you're really like into that orange juice. It must be giving you something. Well, cheers.
Oh no, it's 100% a screwdriver. He looks happy, right? In every picture, he looks like very happy, I feel like, or something.
I feel like he's got to have a 7 head, and he seems very assertive and like he's very muscular and
Yeah, he is. He's definitely muscular, and yeah.
he seems like a good time. Like he seems like someone he seems like a guy you go to the beach with, and he brings like a cooler full of.
Well, you know what I like about him? He's known, this is awesome. He's known as being like the gay filmmaker of the 90s, but he dated a woman for 3 years, and he was like, I don't care, like whatever. Like I'm like, that's fucking awesome. Like that, like I love people who don't stick to things. Like, why fucking would you? It's 3 and 7 is what I'm getting immediately from him, right? Like that's what seemed to be like the most apparent just from this like frame.
His house looks 3-ish.
Yeah. And I assume he lives in LA because all of his shit is set there.
The story and the characters, story arcs and everything are all sort of laid out for you. So it's really the writing the script is actually in a way kind of much easier than writing an original screenplay, which is everything kind of has to be dredged up, all the situations and all the story and what's going to happen and the dialogue and everything. Whereas for Mysterious Skin, it was really just almost like editing a film in the sense that you have all of this material and you just have to sort of condense it and sort of distill it and pull out little fragments and the sort of the essence of each scene and kind of shape it into a feature length screenplay. So it's really much more actually to me like more like editing than it was like actual writing. So it was kind of easier, I thought. I mean, I was of course like thrilled. I mean, Mysterious Skin got some of the best reviews I've ever gotten, and as a filmmaker, that's always more fun than getting bad reviews. My films tend to be, for most of my career, have been very sort of controversial, and people like love them or hate them, and they have their supporters and their detractors. And Mysterious Skin also, had its share of detractors, its share of people that didn't like it. But I think more than any other film I've ever done, it got sort of a really.
Yeah, he seems like heady, but I don't think he's a head type. Like I still am leaning 3.
I think so too. He does seem heady. What would you think his head fix would be?
Yeah, 7 still. I think for sure he's 7.
You think so? Yeah. I mean, he looks like a 7, like definitely. I see 4 in the films, but not in his interviews necessarily.
So he could be like a 3-wing 4. Because I think it's 3 in the image center, wing 4.
He seems like he knows what he's doing. Like he knows where. Like it seems weird to wear a fucking tank top in an interview in your house. Like that just seems like that's intent. Like that you're going for something if you're doing that. Like you're conscious of that. Like it just kind of like okay, like I like it. Like it suits him, but it also seems kind of odd.
He wears them on set.
Like he's directing in that. Like what?
I mean, well, all the 7s can be more splashy and inconsistent, I think, with their overall wardrobe aesthetic. And I would
True.
almost like a actual like a 3 might actually be somewhat more consistent, but I'm just kind of
But he's always wearing at least like tight clothes. He's either wearing like revealing or like tight shit. Like look at that shirt he's wearing with that blue tie. Like that's like a tight shirt. Like that's kind of how Chuck Palahniuk dresses. He's always wearing like a tight black t-shirt.
well, yeah, it
It's
looks like
interesting.
if he's working and if he likes wearing just like wife beaters to work or to do interviews, like this speaks to some kind of subconscious seven thing of like wanting to be free. So
Yeah.
wants like his limbs unencumbered or something, but and wants to be
True.
ill, like the way he dresses. And then he has to go to these events and wear something pseudo dressy. But then he kind of has fun, but it's not like overly splashy, but
True.
he's still wearing
Yeah, him wearing the fucking wife beater literally while he's directing is pretty funny.
Super strong, kind of critical support, and that was really kind of amazing. I mean, I was really, thrilled with it. But as a director, or as a filmmaker, you can't really. I mean, I don't really think about that stuff too much or worry about it. It's really just you just make the best film you could possibly make and sort of put it out in the world and hope that people get it. And usually with the film, some people get it, some people don't. Story Skin seems to be a lot of people got it, and that was like really wonderful.
a lot of people got it. I mean, yeah, that's more of like an attachment concern, I think. And
You think so? Like appealing to a wide audience is an attachment thing.
yeah, for sure. I don't
But it's kind of interesting because I don't think that's like a through line through most of his career necessarily, but maybe because he's not a super well known director. I mean,
yeah.
not
That may not be for lack of trying though.
true. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point because he did like, yeah, yeah. But I feel like his work is like obviously so kind of weird and even Mysterious Skin with his most popular film. I was watching that at my house and my friend came in and was like bummed out that I was watching it because it involves like child molestation. He was like, he was just like, can we watch something else? I was like, oh yeah, yes. And it was like, like that's not the most like mass appeal fucking, source material for a movie.
Well, that might speak to him having like attachment core, but then having hexad other parts, or yeah, like 3 wing 4, like where he's
There.
missing.
Yeah.
He wants people to like it, but he's missing the mark. I
I've
mean,
never seen this one totally. I haven't seen the earlier ones. I'm trying to watch all his movies because there's something really fascinating about him that I like a lot.
another homo movie by Gregg Araki. More
That marketing, like, is good. It's great.
Yeah, this is like ahead of his time. This is some like Tumblr shit. Like,
Oh yeah, that is such a good point because he he is ahead of his time. He's very influential, and I feel like Gen Z today, Gen Z sort of is like going back into the 90s, sort of like especially like the everyone. I mean, the TikTok is like you look at it and you look at a certain side of it and you're like, damn, Gregg Araki could have directed this. It's very interesting. Visually, he does remind me of John Waters now that I'm thinking about it. There are certain things that like pop up where, and I always thought John Waters was a 3-wing 4 as well. I personally, I like his like nonfiction shit, like his like memoirs, way better than his films.
yeah, I read whatever the one is with the bright green
Oh
cover.
yeah, where he's hitchhiking, that one.
Yeah, something like that.
That one's fucking awesome. I love that book. I
He's
forget what it's called.
teaching in jails or something. Yeah,
And he like takes acid. He like take acid when he's like 70 years old or something.
he does have like a 7-wing
I
6
think it's a 7.
sort of
Yeah.
aesthetic. It's like 7-wing 6 plus 4-wing 3, maybe.
He leans into his kind of like grotesque. Even himself, he look like the fact that he's been doing the like pencil mustache for years and years. Like that's an image thing. It's gotta be, right? Like that's like
Shit, we're going so off track, but now I kind of want to watch him for. Yeah, you know what? He's got like a 7 wing 6 visual thing, but I think in interviews he's like more subdued. But his work is so grotesque. Maybe he's 7 wing 6 second.
No, but he's kind of like Bret Easton Ellis, where he loves pop culture. He's a fucking pop culture like maniac. He loves it. He has that. I would not be surprised if he was 3 wing 4 as well, because that's obviously like a big part of who he is. It's his relation to pop culture.
I wonder if it's also like a social self-pres thing.
Maybe. But you know who else has that is Quentin Tarantino, and he doesn't remind me at all of Bret Easton Ellis or John Waters, but he is also obsessed with that, you know, injecting pop culture into his work. So it's kind of interesting.
He's a 7. He's got to have social. So interesting.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That jacket is a wake me up. Thank
Thank
so
you.
much. I need the
I
coffee.
Try
Thank you
to
very much.
dress like a Jackson Pollock painting.
I mean, he could be social sexual too, but I still think he's probably got a 7 head. Like,
Oh, well, it's working.
I would not be surprised if he was sociosexual. I wouldn't be surprised if he was sociosexual, because he's very, but the way he describes sex in his work, and especially his nonfiction work, is very like almost similar to Bret Easton Ellis, where it's just like, yeah, I'm, you know, blah blah. It's just not like nonchalant. You know, it's not particularly sexy, but it's present, which is interesting.
although I'm trying to remember, he also does have really grotesque things.
He does, but they're almost grotesque for the sake of being provocative, not
like taking a shit in the
Yeah.
street or fucking whatever. Like, I
but like Pink Flamingos is not that fun of a movie to watch. Like, it's fun, it's cool, it's a good movie, but it's not very good. It's like hard to watch almost. So I don't know what that, you know, that might just speak to fucking budget constraints. It's like I like it better than an idea than an actual film.
And like he made Crybaby as well, right?
He did, yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think he's probably got to have 7 wing 6 head with 4, either
Yeah.
3 wing 4 or 4 fix.
And I mean, I can't believe he made Hairspray. That blows my mind. That's crazy that he made that.
Hairspray, and that's such a 70.
Yeah. Flamboyant. That's such a flamboyant movie. It's so out there. It's so like in your face. Like, this is what it is. Like aesthetically sort of like bombastic, you know? It's
I think there's also like, I'm being anecdotal. I also have a thing for trailers and trailer trash and shit, and I think it's like 7 wing 6 head, maybe with 4.
Oh no, I completely get that. I grew up in trailer homes, so I love it. I have a hard I lived in a trailer for like 6 years. I have a hard soft spot for them. And that's a fucking Harmony Korine thing too, though. He loves that shit.
You're right. It is. It's weirdly like glamorizing trashy, like,
Yeah, 100. Like, you know what's interesting? You do need to watch the Florida Project, because it's similar. It's like sort of glamorizing poverty, this sort of white trashness that I personally love. I think it's great. I think there's a lot of things you can mine from that. And so John Waters obviously loves that. Harmony Korine, Gummo, that's all Gummo is. That's all Gummo is, basically. And so he obviously has some sort of obsession with that. And yeah, that I never even thought about that. Interesting.
I think like Lana Del Rey, well, she's like a 946, although she seems kind of 7 wing 6 head, to be honest, a little bit.
Do you know who her boyfriend was? Jack Donahue. Do you know who that is? She dated him recently. He's from this band Salem, and he was like a fucking crackhead trailer park. Like, yeah, look him up. You're gonna be like, oh, like look up Jack Donahue Salem.
That guy? Is it this guy?
No, not him. Look up Jack Donahue Salem. Because he and the person he was in the band with, yeah, they're like total like crackhead vibe, which like, see, there she is. They took a picture in front of a prison, and it's like great, yeah. So it's that, yeah,
Oh, he's hot.
yeah, he is. And so he was in this like witch house band, Salem. He dated fucking Courtney Love.
Ugh, I don't know how she gets all these guys. She is repulsive, but whatever. I guess it's like a fame, like a star fucker kind of thing. I mean, he's gross too, but he's hot, but he's gross. Yeah, I could see him having like 7 wing 6 and 9 wing 8 or something.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely.
Oh boy.
But the other person who is in the band with him, I forget his name, but he's a 9, 100%. He's this gay man who like is very like he's a 9. I just don't know how to explain it, but he's a 9.
This guy kind of looks like a 9 too. Like a 9.
I could see him being a 7. If you look at his Instagram, he's definitely a 7, in my opinion.
He almost has like a shitty Michael Pitt sort of thing about him. It's like a shitty.
You know who he falls in line with? Like it's that kind of Shia LaBeouf type of personality type of thing. Where it's like that like grungy, like but also intellectual grungy, like artistic fucking type of thing. Which I'm not. What do y'all have Shia typed as? I'm obsessed with him. I mean,
I don't know if he's a
I
7.
lost you.
Looks like I mean, he's got the tweaker thing, but I don't know if he's.
Well, yeah, this is yeah. He definitely has the tweaker thing. But he, like I was saying, I don't know if how much I heard, but he reminds me of Shia LaBeouf.
So maybe he's a 6 wing 7 or which will Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, Shia LaBeouf I think is like a 6'8" 3 or 6'8". I love Honey Boy. I think although he
I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. You gotta watch Florida Project. If you liked Honey Boy, you'll fucking love Florida Project. You gotta watch that. I've never seen the movie. That's my favorite movie of all time by far.
I'll probably like it then. Yeah, I loved Honey Boy. I remember I saw it at TIFF when it was at its like film fest premiere, and I was like, I don't like Shia LaBeouf, but
Yeah.
I was gripped by it. Apparently he kind of like
I was
stole.
gripped. Yep. I loved it twice. I saw it, or I loved it twice. I saw it twice because I was like, damn. But yeah, I saw Florida Project like 6 times because it was like, I was like, fuck yeah, we gotta do an episode on that because it's amazing. Or on Sean Baker.
It's like gone so off track now. We're like,
I know it's sorry.
I mean, I guess that is probably proof that I do have a 9 fix.
I know. Look at us. We're like we're enabling each other, but it's good.
We're just vibing off into oblivion. Okay, so yeah, we'll go back to Gregg Araki.
I'm sorry.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Brady Corbet, Mysterious Skin was kind of an early film in their careers. They had both done, Joe had obviously been on a TV show for many, many years, and he had done a couple of smaller sort of indie films. And Brady had done, just a few films before 13 Thunderbirds. But the Mysterious Skin really gave the two of them, a really kind of amazing kind of showcase role. And they both really
like he's talking about his film giving his actors an amazing showcase role. Yeah, I feel like that's a sort of velocity.
True. He's not wrong though. That movie's fucking incredible, and it's interesting. But yeah, but he seems kind of boring, no? Right? Like from this.
Debut the film at Cannes.
Yes.
You've been to Toronto as well, I think, and now you're in London. So is it kind of important to get your films into festivals, you think? Do you see yourself as a festival film?
Oh yeah, the film festivals, especially for independent films, they're really important in terms of launching a movie, getting people aware of them, getting the film distributed. You can't just, as a small independent film, just like, I'm having a screening of my movie and expect that anyone's going to care. You really need like the like the Sundances and the Cannes and
I don't know. I feel like choosing filmmaking as your medium also maybe says something about your type because it's so fucking collaborative and it's so like I don't know. I feel like if you're like a super withdrawn type, like you just wouldn't pick that. You wouldn't do that. like it's so hard to do that and be so, if he was a core four, which I don't even think he is, but I feel like that's very rare to find a core four filmmaker. Like
There are
that's
a lot of 9 filmmakers though.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But I feel like nines, but like it goes back to the whole like peacemaker thing. And like you're servicing people and you're like being there for other people. So that kind of makes sense in a weird way.
Well, depends, right? Because
Yeah.
like David Lynch, like to bring him up, like he's 974 and he's social blind. Like I don't feel like he's serving other people. I feel like he's doing his weird, he's
True.
pulling people into his weird little fantasy world and making them play
But
parts.
but all the people who talk about him love him. Like if you ever hear Naomi Watts, she's like, yeah, we love Dave. They're kind of like he's this like weird little boy that they just love. Like it's just so funny. So nine kind of makes sense because nine, I feel like people like to like take nines in and be like, oh, that's my nine. That's my like little weirdo, especially if it's a 974 or something. Like,
You.
yeah, yeah. So it kind of makes sense, but to have that authority is something that's like, oh yeah, that would be frustrating as a filmmaker. Like, if you're a withdrawn type, like it seems would be difficult.
I feel
Not
like,
that saying he is.
yeah. I mean, I do feel like he's an assertive core.
You think so?
Yeah, just from looking at his photos, like he's
He. I think he's that. I think he might be sexual first. What do you think?
I have literally no idea of his
I
instincts.
don't know. Just look at him. I don't. He looks like it. Like I know that's not the best way of typing, but he. I don't know. He seems very confident. Very like, yeah.
Maybe just when he's younger. I mean, I'm not getting sexual in his interviews, but it's
I fucking no, not in the interviews, but in the pictures. That fucking tank top. I think it's just the tank top. It's what is doing it for me.
could be. Yeah, and he's got like this whole like, I mean, it's like what we saw with Brett with his glass. Like he
That's
could,
yeah, that's sort of like cool demeanor, that like traditional, like classic man sort of suit and tie thing, but like it's so not. Yeah.
Took advantage of it and really picked up the ball and sort of ran with it. And I'm so thrilled and pleased for both of them in terms of how the recognition that the film has gotten them and sort of the career trajectory that they both sort of taken. They're both great people, both amazing actors, and just really kind of cool human beings. So I'm of course thrilled for both of them.
like typologically, like kind of talking about like giving yourself credit for somebody else's success. I want to say speaks to there maybe being like a two wing, but I don't really think he's a 3 wing two either. So
I could see too. It's funny you say that because a lot of his characters have this two vibe of where they like are doing something for the other character, but the other character is not fucking reciprocating at all, and they're just kind of like in this like sad little puppy dog thing, which is fucking so too to me. And so maybe that's interesting. Maybe because a lot of his now that you fucking say that, I was thinking a lot of his characters were nine, but now that you say that, they actually ring a little bit more two because they are servicing the other people and then just kind of being like this like self-appointed victim for no fucking reason, which is the most two thing in the world.
interesting. I mean, and 2-7 is also like pinks and neon colors and
Oh my God, that's such his shit. Like that's so his vibe is like that sort of like very neon, like neon puke shit. So yeah, that's really interesting.
Exactly. I always, my original vision of Mysterious Skin, I always get my movies sort of in my head. So when I'm writing them, I sort of have like all the shots and the editing, and sometimes I hear the music, and I sort of see the whole movie kind of before I make it. So it's the shooting of it is actually just sort of kind of realizing this picture that's already in my head, and for Mysterious Skin in particular.
that seems like a 9ish way of working.
I feel like it's hard because he's not giving much. I feel like we're riffing a lot on him.
Yeah, I guess I
I
should
don't
let it
know.
go longer.
Profile and all the buyers go to them and the press and they're so important. I mean, my whole career has been based on I mean, it started at a film festival.
What do you think about typing off of like physical appearance? Because I've seen many people do that, and like what is your view on that? Because I
Like
don't know how to feel about that.
physical appearance wise, I would lean 314 over probably anything else.
Why so? Because of his sharp features.
He looks well, he looks assertive and he looks like he's trying to like project an image of success, not just
Yeah,
like film festivals, but or whatever, but it's like he seems like he's wanting people to see him as I'm a filmmaker, like I've got muscles, I go to these parties, like I'm a cool guy, like it seems.
yeah, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah, I feel like he's trying to sell the image of cool. uh I mean, I'm
He's
extrapolating.
he's also kind of controversial, but he's kind of leaning into the traditional like gay, like he looks gay, which is fine. Like he's gay, but like he's we do you like I think he's almost for like a marketing, like his movies were marketed as like gay. He was a part of like the new gay renaissance or whatever, for whatever the fuck it was called. I don't remember, but he's obviously leaning into that. Like maybe not, but it feels like he is. Like he looks like a twink, like which is fine, but which is good. Like he just does. Like he looks like if you Googled like 37-year-old twink Asian man.
That's a good point.
And
It's like that's what attachment types do, right? Like they lean into whatever they're getting rewarded for. So
hmm,
he's getting rewarded for being the weird gay filmmaker, then he's probably
yeah.
gonna like amplify it.
Yeah, and I think he is. He's conscious. Like he he looks like that. Like if I didn't know who he was and I saw a picture of him, I'd be like, yeah, it's just he's gay. Like I don't know. I feel like I would think that. Maybe not, but
Yeah, and he's like all his movies have that, like another homo movie or the
yeah.
heterosexual movie. It's like he's
Yeah.
labeled them as like a marketing
Which I think is
instrument.
fucking hilarious and a funny, self-aware way of saying like, yeah, I know I'm like an outward like I know I'm like flamboyantly like faggy, which is cool. Like I love that, but it's kind of it's I don't know. It's interesting.
It is, yeah. And he has a very strong aesthetic sense. Like I think in his
Yeah, for sure. But he didn't always. Apparently, I watched some clips from his first three, and I think that's mainly due to budget, but they were very like stationary, not as crazy looking as like the later movies. But again, that probably has more to do with budget than anything else. But yeah, I don't know.
like it
This
does.
is harder than I thought.
Image types actually have like a kind of better grasp on consistent like aesthetics throughout their film, perhaps. Like that might actually be trying to think of like Quentin Tarantino as a seven. He obviously has his own aesthetic, but his kind of changes from film.
Yeah, I agree. And none of like obviously any Tarantino movie you're watching, like, oh, I know it's a Tarantino movie, but none of them feel the same. But Gregg Araki movies, honestly, all feel like they could take place in the same universe.
Yeah.
Like they feel like they could tame, like they were all could have been made, like they all could have simultaneously been happening at the same time. Like that's interesting to me.
Yeah.
Locarno, my very first movies. So movies like that, like Kaboom, don't really get made anymore. It's like it's really difficult to make independent films, and particularly movies like Kaboom that are really weird and unique, and you can't put them in a category or like say.
I mean, this is 314 talk.
He sounds like Brett when he's talking like, oh, it's so weird. They don't make movies like this anymore. It's so weird. Like, that's 3-wing-4 sort of like I'm on the outside type of thing. Sounds like that. But
Mhm.
but not quite the same flavor, like not quite in the sort of like glamorous way that Bret Easton Ellis does. His is a little bit more like DIY, like, and he seems fine with that. Like he seems fine, whereas like the 3-wing 4 flavor of Brett is like he really thrives in that like glamorous, ritzy, expensive environment where I don't really get that vibe as much from him. So I'm not sure what that speaks to, but that's a loud statement to me.
Yeah. And Brett seems very focused on like specificity,
Yeah.
his vision and stuff, and Gregg
But they're
Araki.
both also concerned with aesthetics, just in very different ways.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
interesting.
This is like this genre, or it's like this other movie, or I mean, they're just sort of this like anomaly. It's like this, like, what is this movie? Like, what is this movie? Is like, is it funny? Is it sexy? Is it scary? Is it comedy? Is it a mystery? Like, what is this movie? And that's one of the things I really wanted to do with this movie, is make something that was just totally out of the box.
One of my favorite lines.
Yeah, that does make me think 3 and 4 core. I want to make something out of the box. Like if you're like a 7 head or something, you're not thinking I want to make something out of the box. You just are making something out of the box.
Yeah.
And it's like an
Well,
attack
that
to like want
yeah,
box. It's like, oh, there's a box. Like like a lot of
right.
subtypes are like
To even acknowledge exactly.
boxes don't exist. What are you talking about? There's a box.
To even acknowledge and say, "Oh, we made a weird movie." Like I feel like certain types wouldn't even acknowledge they made a weird movie. Like you don't even have to say that. Like whether you're consciously not saying that or you're unconsciously. I feel like a 9 would know they're making a weird movie but not say it, and a 7 would just not even realize it. But a 3-wing 4 would have to point to it and say, "Oh, we made a weird movie," like and use that almost have a point of like sale as a fucking like marketing strategy, a strategy, which is interesting. So, like, and he's doing that. He's saying, "Oh, we made a really weird movie," because that's bullshit. Weird movies get made all the time. So the movie was made 12 years ago, but like he's using this framework of like, oh, we're making a weird movie, we're making blah blah, but there's weirder movies made today, way weirder shit made today. And so like he's wrong. He's using it as like a marketing technique, which is very 3 to me. He's saying like, oh, we're making the weirdest thing. Like, look at us. I'm excelling at this. I'm excelling at being a freak, at being weird. And it's like, okay, I respect that, but you're wrong. Like, there's definitely weirder shit than Kaboom, which stars like a household name. I haven't seen that, so I can't really have a true opinion on it, but I'm sure it's like, his movies are weird and they're sexual, but there's definitely weirder shit that's being made. And so him just acknowledging that it's weird speaks 3 to me, because like I don't know if it's got cut off, but I feel like 7 would say, "Oh yeah, that's weird," but or maybe not even think that's weird and just do it. And then 9 would think maybe, "Oh yeah, that's weird," but not acknowledge it, like a David Lynch, Harmony Korine type, where they say that's weird, but they wouldn't acknowledge it because they know they don't want to. And I relate to that because I know when something weird, I'm not going to tell you it's weird because I don't need to market it in that way because I want you to be surprised, blah, blah, blah. So him using it as a sort of like marketing strategy, to me, speaks to 3, which is very interesting. And Brett does the same exact fucking thing for sure.
I like when you said about wanting to accelerate, wanting to excel at being a freak. Like that's actually like the perfect I think way to describe. I mean, 3 and 4 manifest differently for different people, but I love that actually for the creative realm. Like that actually makes total sense for.
No, it does. And I think Bret Easton Ellis does the same thing, but in a more conservative tone almost. He leaned more into the plush, like, oh, where, and I guess it's different in prose. In prose, you can be a little bit more abstract and it still have that glossy sheen. But in film, you just have to be literal. You can't, it's harder to be more abstract, but Araki still does that. It's interesting. I think there's a link to them for sure. No doubt.
It's kind of got like a perfect 3-wing 4 name too, even like Gregg Araki.
Yeah.
They're like kind of perfect 3-wing 4 names.
Yeah. He has like a party sexy boy vibe, which feels 7 to me.
Yeah, it's a party.
He's kind of got this like slutty vibe like, which is like 7.
Yeah. I don't know what his instincts are though. It's hard in the interview. I'm not picking up much. In his videos, I could see that there would be, or his films, that there would be SX, but
Yeah, his films for sure. His interviews, he gives like nothing. They're so boring. They're not that fun to watch.
wonder if there's any ones of him being interviewed by somebody hot.
I just think that the mothers in the film are really sort of doing the best they can, you know what I mean? And I don't think that I personally don't think that they're in any way to blame for what happens. I mean, I think that they are trying to take care of their kids in a hard world. It's a world of the world. Yeah, I mean, there is that sort of sense that things are not what they seem. Like there's the surface of what people are, and then there's the underneath. But I think that that's one of the things about Mystery Skin. I think that this I can't take credit for it because I didn't write the book, but Scott's done a great job in the sense that it's like he's incorporated all of these things about America. You know what I mean? Like that the coach is like, this little league baseball coach. And I don't know about here, but in America, little league is like sort of symbolic of the heartland, of America. And just the way, the story is set in Kansas, which is the middle. Everything about it is sort of.
And he's doing social framing, like he's doing a lot of social context. You can really see him ping-ponging and thinking. And
I feel like sexual, social, no doubt. I don't know. That seems very apparent to me. Sexual is definitely at least first or second. It's just that it's too prevalent in the films not to be. It's just so there.
Yeah,
like because the films, I don't know, there's something watching them that's like, it actually, I don't know, in 2022 nothing really feels dangerous, but watching those from literally like almost 30 years ago, I was like, damn, these feel like fucking weird. Like these are like crazy to watch. Like it was kind of cool. It was cool as fuck. I was like, damn, these feel like sexually like dangerous. And I was like, that definitely says something. It's not, you don't do that by accident, I don't think.
I don't know why, but this picture looks wild to me. It looks like he's got like a giant masturbating arm, and then the other one's like.
Yeah. I feel like he definitely was pumping steroids or something.
Yeah, maybe. I can't rule out SP, but I can't.
It's kind of weird that he's like buff. That like is fucking weird, actually.
He's got. Well, that could be SX though. Actually, like if he's trying to. Although it's usually like an SP thing to roid up or something. Yeah, I'm really stumped on his stacking, but I could see him being like 3 wing 4, 7 wing 6, 9 wing 8 or some shit like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. But his stacking, I don't know. I know sexual is in there. I don't know the order, but it's in there. It's not last, that's for sure.
Quintessentially kind of middle America, it's not just like New York or LA. It's very like about the center of America in the heartland. And that this story happens in this setting, I think is really sort of brilliant of Scott, because it kind of makes the story so much more, the fact that it's this quintessentially kind of American setting, I think makes the story more resonant. I do feel very American, I think, in a way, but I think my definition of America is different than other people's. I think that to me is what is American about it, is that America is not just this one thing. It's not just this, sort of straight and narrow definition that a lot of people think American is. America is a really huge place with a huge number of viewpoints and sensibilities, and there's room for
Yeah, this feels very social to me.
You think so? It feels sixy to me. Like that concept feels six, like connecting. I don't know, like America as this sort of like connected differences thing. But maybe I'm just projecting on him. I'm not sure, but that's what that feels like to me. his movies, the dialogue feel like fucking shit Paris Hilton would say, so that's kind of weird. Damn, they do. They're all like LA is trap, and they all have these like fucking like Red Scare like fucking like what are those called like what's that called, vocal fries. Like all his characters have like fucking insane vocal fries, so that actually his characters are very Paris Hilton. Wow, that's fucking crazy. Damn, maybe that would actually track.
Madonna, sexual, social, 3 ring 4 7 8.
I could see that. That fucking makes sense.
Could you see that? He doesn't feel as provocative as Madonna.
Not outwardly, not in himself, but in the work, yes. His work is so provocative. So, maybe not him directly, but
that speaks to social dom to me, that he's putting it out there in his work, because I really think that that's actually a social dom thing, is that we like to more do our provocative things through
because in the Doom generation, there's a scene where the character who's not, so there's like the two characters who are in the relationship, and there's like the mystery guy who comes, but there's a scene where he's like jacking off, and then he like jerks off and he comes and he eats his own cum, and that's fucking weird. And he like fucking eats his cum. And so I'm like, that's like, I was like, God damn, that's like, it was like shocking. I was like, oh my God. And he doesn't seem like a dude who would put that in a movie, but like he did. So that's like, and for like what, 1995, I think, or 1993 or 6 or something, like that's pretty crazy. Like, I don't think that would be in a movie today. So that's pretty fucking raw. And I was like, damn, I fucking love that. Like the dude literally ate his own cum. I was like, you don't really get much more provocative than that.
She's more sparkly than him, though.
She is, but maybe is that just sort of like her feminine? Like, I don't know. Like, is that just like
sexual can show up in guys where they're just wearing like black and sunglasses?
But he does. He's kind of minimal in the same way as Bret Easton Ellis. Like, he's either wearing like a random like fucking kind of like jean or leather jacket and tie, or a tank top. So
all kinds of different points of view. I'm so excited about Mr. Iskin, and one of the reasons is that I think it's such a perfect movie for me in a way, in that it's a really radical departure, I think, in the sense that it's the first time I've really done kind of a serious character-driven drama. The movies like Doom Generation or Nowhere, I've always had this sort of satirical kind of pop culture sort of edge to them, whereas this is much more sort of straightforward, like sincere drama. So it's a kind of big departure for me, but at the same time, like, as you say, it also is perfect the flow of my movies. And I think that's why the story, I've never encountered an outside story that I have loved so much that I wanted to make into a movie. Because I think Scott and I, we have very sort of similar sensibility. We're both very influenced by music, and we have a lot of the same sort of interests. And my films are always sort of about the outsiders. And Mysterious Skin is definitely a movie about outsiders.
I regret not watching something before we came on, because I think it would have given me a clearer sense of his instinctual stacking just through his movies.
Yeah, maybe.
Because you can still have a lot of like sexual things regardless of if you're sexual. But although he does have a lot of the triangulating kind of shit in his stuff, and that does seem.
What do you mean by triangulating? What do you mean by that?
Like sexual competition. Although he's a 3-wing.
No, he does though, because in Nowhere, in the Doom generation, there's this weird sort of like, is this threesome gonna happen? There's a character, who wants a monogamous relationship, and a character who doesn't at all. So I feel like there is that element in a lot of his,
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like,
feel like there is. Even in Mysterious Skin, the one character, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, is a sex worker, has no attachment to sex at all, just does it as a physical act. It's nothing to him. And the Brady Corbett character is basically asexual and doesn't. He's this very innocent childlike character, where Joseph Gordon-Levitt is, his childhood is killed. It's gone. He has no childhood. He has no childlike qualities, and he's all sex. And and the Brady Corbett character is almost innocent. So like, he can't even comprehend sex. And there's a part in that movie where a woman tries to have sex with him, and he's like scared. He doesn't understand it. And so I don't know. It's interesting.
yeah, maybe he's sexual social then.
It's a huge theme in all his movies that I've watched. It feels too prevalent to not be a part of a stacking. I mean, it could, but it's huge.
And when SPs do sex, it's more like just like a fuck scene. Like, so
Yeah, and that's his shit. That's so true. Like, this series that this is about opens with a fuck scene that's just like, okay, it's not that big of a deal. It's like that character in the yellow, he's fucking some guy, and then it's just like, oh yeah, it was just a Tinder hookup or something. It wasn't that big of a deal. It was like, eh.
okay, that definitely does pull me away from SX then, because yeah, like that's like, I think like SX blinds often see that stuff as like transactional on some level, like in their films, or
no, it's not like that. It's not very transactional. It's what, you know what, from the 3 or 4 movies I watched, one character is relating to it as extremely emotional, and the other is relating to it as maybe transactional, maybe nothing. So that's a very interesting sort of like divide I've noticed. And I haven't seen all of his movies, but from what I've read about them, that seems present in almost all of them.
Mysterious Skin so much, but I kind of miss the old Gregg Araki, you know. Is that true?
I mean, it's not like I made the movie because he said that. It was really, I mean, I had already been sort of working on it. Kaboom, something I've been working on for years and years. Originally, it was a TV pilot, and yeah, it's something that through the years sort of morphed into being the film that is today. But I took it almost as like an omen, you know, the god, the icon, the god of underground cinema. Like it was so flattering to me. I mean, John's kind of a friend of mine, and he was giving me this Mysterious Skin thing, and it's so weird for me that he would even care or like know what my old films are like or anything. So it was just kind of a weird blessing from the gods that he said that, and I thought, that's interesting. And not even the squirrel shit. Yeah, no, it is kind of, yeah, it's just like it. Yeah, I mean, and the characters, it's funny at that point because the characters are just like, the characters are kind of going, what the hell is going on here? You know what I mean? And in the same way that they're like surrogates for the audience, like, what? And like, because that's right after all this weird shit is happening. I mean, it's one of the
John Waters, and one of the kind of catalysts for this one getting made. So can you explain how?
Well, he wasn't really a cat. I mean, he was just one of the sort of like a signpost, like I don't know, like a good luck signpost or something along the way. Because it's a project I've been working on for years. I mean, originally I developed as sort of a TV series type pilot show. And so something that had been sort of percolating and writing for a while. And it was just on it, I think it's about 5 years ago, 2004, 5.
What do you think about him? He doesn't seem like he ever addresses the person. He's just kind of like looking off into the distance. Like that doesn't seem particularly assertive to me, you know? Like that he's kind of like this, like like that's
if he's got 9 and 7, like if he's a 3-7-9, that would definitely make him creepy.
But he doesn't seem like he makes eye contact like ever. He looks off a lot. He looks up, and he looks up a lot. It's just kind of strange. Like
cognitive function stuff too. Like he could have, like I do that. I mean, I'm a 7 though, but I do that a lot.
I feel like 7 has a tendency to look up, and not like, I know I look down. I don't look up because that's weird. Because I feel like I could cross her path if I look up. but if I'm looking down, I don't have to engage with you. I'll look down at my fingers or feet or something. But looking up is like risky. It's like the same thing, but an added layer of risk. It's kind of weird to look up. Like if you're trying to avoid eye contact, it's almost like you're trying to draw attention and avoid at the same time.
That's an interesting observation. As I look up, I do weirdly remember this apropos of just this, is that there was this interview with Madonna where, and she's a 3-wing-4-7-8 with, I don't know, she's SP blind. It's sexual, social, or social sexual. And she kept looking up. And I remember the interview being like, what are you looking at? Like they got distracted by Madonna looking up. Like he does seem, but he's not splashy. Actually, that would, because
he's splashy in his films though. His films are so splashy, but he himself is a little splashy. Like the skin he shows with the wife beaters, that's a little splashy, I feel like. But
yeah, you're right. Well, okay, so I could definitely get behind him being SP blind, especially as a competency core, because he does still do the competency stuff, which can seem SP.
John was presenting it in Provincetown, and we were backstage, and I mean, John's kind of a friend of mine, and we're just like, bullshitting backstage. He's all, Mysterious Skin's a great movie and all, because the award was for Mysterious Skin. He's all, it's a great movie and all, it's really amazing and all that. But he's like, I really want to see you do an old school Gregg Araki movie, just sort of like my earlier movies, like Doom Generation, which were more in your face kind of movies. I'm, well, really, that's coming from you of all people. That I was super flattered that he would even like think something like that.
That's attachment to me, that he would even be influenced by that, saying like, oh, what you say I care about. That feels a very attachment to me. And then it's obvious this influenced his direction going forward. So that feels very some sort of attachment, I would say.
Yeah, I think it makes sense that you would have like a attachment, heart and gut.
Kind of attachment is sort of like, maybe even if someone says like, oh, I don't like what you're doing, like I'll attach to the idea that they don't like it, but then I'll like even go further with it. And I'm like, oh, if it's someone I don't respect or like, I'll be like, oh, I have to like attach to that you don't like it and fucking approve upon that or fucking expand upon that because you don't like it, and that like is motivating me. So that's kind of interesting. I don't think he did that. I think he went the opposite way because he respected John Waters, but that speaks to some sort of attachment style to me. That's pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, because like I can ping away, like, because these workshops and things that I'm in, if someone likes something a lot, like that can make me become disgusted with it, and then I change it.
I know being an attachment core sucks, but
to make Kaboom in that style of just really make it in the way that movies like that, like Kaboom, don't really get made anymore. It's like it's really difficult to make independent films, and particularly movies like Kaboom that are really weird and unique, and you can't put them in a category or like say,
yeah, that's like mega 3-wing-4.
Yeah, just that sort of expressing the weird and uniqueness. I feel like the other 4 influence types would not do that. That's just saying it's marketing. It's literally marketing, and that's such a fucking 3 thing. It's interesting.
This is like this genre, or it's like this other movie, or they're just sort of this like anomaly. It's like this, like, what is this movie? Like, what is this movie? Is like, is it funny? Is it sexy? Is it scary? Is it comedy? Is it a mystery? Like, what is this movie? And that's one of the things I really wanted to do with this movie, is make something that was just totally out of the box.
What kind of drew to Thomas and Haley's?
The casting was very involved. I mean, we really did a very wide search, and all the actors in the movie, every single one of them, they all earned their parts kind of fair and square. Like there's tons of auditions. I saw tons of actors, and really from all those auditions picked the best of all the best, and every single one of the actors were just amazing. I mean,
Yeah, the best of the best actors. Like, mm.
I'm so lucky to have such a great ensemble. And one of the things I love about the cast is that they're all, a lot of times in these ensemble movies, people sort of start to blend together. They all kind of look alike. Like, is that Tom or is that Joe? Or, yeah, I mean, it's like, who are these people? But in this movie, every one of them is so unique. Like, they all have this, a lot of them too aren't on screen for very long, but they really make a big impression. It's like it's not like you get confused. Like, is that character or this character? Like, they all really pop, and that's one of the things I really love about the kids in the movie.
Yeah, they have to be quite brave as well because a lot of clothes are shed and
yeah. No, the audience, the actors were all of them were really just so gung ho and so committed to the script and the idea.
I'm trying to rule out 617. I mean, I'm leaning.
I think
just because he doesn't have any like sense of humility.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because with like Harmony Korine and David Lynch, who are that are basically our archetypal 974s, they would divert this question. They would say, I don't know, or just say something completely off the rails. But he's being basically genuine and saying, they're great, blah blah, and he's kind of almost in a roundabout way going back to like, I wanted to do this, and he's being basically genuine to what he's talking, like what he wanted to achieve, like by saying like, was it a scary movie? Was it a sexy movie? I don't know. Like that to me is like, I don't know what that speaks to, but that rules out something. I'm not exactly sure what, but he's being straightforward in a non-straightforward way, I guess.
Well, nines
but
are
it's
big, but nines don't want to be pinned down, but threes are always modulating image. So it's like if he's not
Mhm.
the image he wants you to see, he might like misdirect or just not.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like he's doing maybe a little bit of that, with the way he's describing the actor's performances and his direction a little bit. It seems like he's going for that a little bit. Obviously, it doesn't seem like it's conscious. It seems like it's just coming out, which is interesting.
And the 3-9 stem is also like wanting to be the most palatable, valued, attractive, whatever.
What is interesting is that through these interviews, it seems like he wants to be palatable, but when you watch at least the older movies like Nowhere and Doom Generation, they're not. I mean, they're absolutely watchable. They're really good movies, but they're not. If you showed them to like a fucking 40-year-old woman in Wisconsin who worked at like a Rite Aid, I don't think she would, or like a grocery store, I don't think she would like them. So it's not that palatable. It's not like it's like a Marvel movie. So it's not like he wants to be truly palatable. It's interesting.
He might not
They're
be,
too sexy.
I mean, that could also speak to him being a contra stacking, which would be sexual, social, or self-pres, because he doesn't seem social blind. So he could be social self-pres or sexual.
Why doesn't he seem social blind to you? He's just too good at interviewing, or?
Yeah, he just seems like aware of context.
He doesn't give like the nerdy vibe to me that like honestly, even like Brett Easton Ellis and Harmony Korine, they both seem like massive fucking nerds, and I don't get that from him. I get more of a like jock sort of like, maybe that's just because he's like beefy, but I just get that more of that flavor than the nerdy you know what I mean? Like I'm getting that more from him than
he still didn't even talk about their clothes shedding. Like, what the fuck? Why I clicked on this?
Yeah, the project and loved just working on something that was so kind of unique and crazy. I mean, we're all so like 110%, there and really courageous and just totally, walking the game, and just like willing to do anything is awesome. David Lynch has always been a huge influence on all of my movies, and I think he's an amazing filmmaker. But this movie is probably my most overtly Lynchian movie. I mean, in that it really.
I gotta watch this now.
Like admitting to I can't even imagine doing
I would
that.
never say that. I would never say that.
No.
Publicly, like where it was recorded, I would never say that because it would just ruin any sort of like I want to be the most unique person. Like I would never admit, so cut this out. But I would never admit to that. That's wild. That's very interesting.
That really does point to 314 that he's doing the glorifying his uniqueness thing, but then also like, oh, but I'm copying David Lynch, basically. Damn, this is making me question if he has a 6.7 head, but I don't see six. Although if he was something like a 369, it wouldn't be as overt. Damn.
You think a seven head would say that? Because that's fascinating that he would like. I love my influences. There's no doubt about that. I obviously they're influences, but I would never say that. I would never say because that's embarrassing.
Well, think about the Max Landis interview with Freddie Snells. He did cite, I think, influences.
True. Well, Bret Easton Ellis will cite influence. Okay, this is important because I remember this instinct because this is exactly what I do. He was like, I will be influenced by a feeling, but not by the person. He'll say, for Imperial Bedroom, he's like, I was doing like a Raymond Chandler mystery, like murder novel, but I wasn't copying Raymond Chandler. I was just doing the vibe in my style. And I was like, yes, I 100% get that. Like, I know exactly what he meant when he said that. He like that made sense. But to say, oh, David Lynch influenced me, but then not add that sort of like asterisk of like, but it's still me. Like it's that is interesting because that I've heard Bret Easton Ellis say specifically like I was going for a blank type of novel, but through my gaze. So that's really interesting. Maybe we're thinking too much into it, but I don't think so.
Well, if he's SP blind, that might actually make him seem a little bit more 70 too. So he could be literally a 369 who just seems more flashy because of the stacking. Damn, why is this guy so hard?
Yeah, I did not expect him to be so difficult. It's kind of cool though.
The sort of free-spirited nature of Twin Peaks and the way it's sort of very much like Kaboom would just do whatever it needed to do. Nothing was too weird or nothing was too like, oh, you can't do that. It was just like it'd break all these rules.
You know what though? I bet Kaboom, the movie he's talking about, is nothing like Twin Peaks. If you watched it, you'd be like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I bet it's nothing like I have a weird feeling that it's not he's not achieving what he thinks. Maybe he is, but I have to watch it. So
well, and the fact that he's like, we're gonna break all these rules and do crazy stuff. It's like sevens just do that on autopilot. It's not
exactly like the fact that you need to say it. The fact that you need to say it is something. It's a little bit disgusting to me. Like, don't say it. Like, don't say it. Like, if you say it, it ruins it. Like, if you have to talk about how cool or weird or edgy you are, it ruins it. It destroys. Do you not understand that it fucking destroys it? So don't say it. That's what is great about David Lynch and Harmony Korine. Even if it's an act, they don't pull the cover. So I respect that. But and it's not like he's destroying his movies, but it's kind of like, shut up. I don't know.
Well, I think, yeah, because okay, so if he's already cited David Lynch, John Waters as influences, then his aesthetic literally could be 7 influenced and 4 influenced by virtue of him just copying people. So, and this is why I don't want to give away the secrets.
No, which is interesting, but they'll never be able. It's just like, do you think he's a Bermuda?
He might be a fucking Bermuda. Like I'm at the place where he might be.
That would be shocking. I would lose my mind. I don't know. That would be crazy.
Like if his aesthetic is grafted from other,
now that he says that about John Waters and David Lynch, it fits. It checks out. It's kind of weird, but it checks out.
And this is like from an era where this sort of aesthetic was sort of the high, like this was, it's like, you know, Empire Records, Rowdy Bike.
Dude, I mean, yeah, exactly. And I mean, fucking David Byrne of the Talking Heads made a movie like this that fit this aesthetic. So it's like this wasn't necessarily like the super fringe now apocalypse. I watched the first 2 episodes. I didn't finish it.
Did it have a similar aesthetic, or was it sort of?
Yes, absolutely. It felt like a continuation of his film Nowhere. Absolutely. It felt like it was doing the same thing. And honestly, I didn't like it because it wasn't too bad, you know, where it was kind of doing that thing where it like calls attention to like modern problems like dating apps and technology and shit like that. But it wasn't too bad. But it was like, I wish this wasn't set in modern times, you know. It was kind of like a little bit hokey, but not horrible. You saying about him like being so explicit about his influence, like David Lynch and John Waters, is making me think maybe he is Bermuda, which makes me not like his movies as much, which is kind of fucked up, but whatever. Kind of funny.
Gross, because like who wants to support like a fucking hack?
I don't think it's a hack though, because I genuinely thought his movies were pretty cool. But with that information, he does feel like a hack. And the series sucks. It's not good. It just feels like him just reiterating the same thing. And it's like, it's all right, but I didn't feel much from it. Nowhere, awesome movie. Fucking great movie.
Oh, I'm leaning Bermuda. I'm definitely leaning Bermuda.
Oh gosh, I did not expect this.
Every movie I've made is different but it's because I'm different. I'm not the same person I was in 1992.
People who are different would not say that. That's a red flag to me. Oh my God, you might be right. That's insane.
You don't have any control over what happens with the movie, whether the movie is misinterpreted. I mean, whatever.
No. Listen, Harmony Korine or Vincent Gallo would not say that. They'd be like, this is my movie and it is what I think it is. Like, it's not what you think it is. That's crazy. You're right. Fuck, I think you're right.
Society.
Because they do have this weird like blending of other people and shallowness. Oh fuck, he's probably Bermuda. That's insane. You're right. What the fuck?
So he must be social sexual or sexual social then, because he's got that like extra.
You know what that makes me? That makes me want to never speak to anyone about my art again, because I'm like, maybe some people can actually pull off being authentic. I want to throw up. I feel like I was sick. I want to throw up. I'm not even joking. It's all coming. I feel like I was on acid and I'm like coming down, and I had this great revelation, and I feel disgusted. You're right. It's all clicking now. You're right. Literally, if you typed into an AI generator, make a movie combine of David Lynch and John Waters, you'd get a Gregg Araki movie. You would get a Gregg Araki movie.
Now that like we've discovered his dirty secret, I can't unsee it.
I know. I'm like ashamed of myself. I'm ashamed.
Sorry to all the 369s out there. But yeah, you just are not up to our standards.
Nowhere's pretty good. Nowhere's good, but in hindsight, it definitely feels like you know when someone's a real artist and you can feel it. And it doesn't. I wanted to feel that, but I didn't. And it's interesting. In this show, it's fucking a rehash of his rehash, so it's fucking 4 times worse. His movies are still good. Mysterious Skin is a masterpiece. That's a beautiful, beautiful movie. Maybe it's not, though. It's not. I think it's not. Damn. That's fucked up, but whatever. And if I would have watched that shit in high school, that would have been my whole personality. I probably would have fucked random old dudes in the park because of that. What makes perfect sense is Doom Generation, I read, is based on this comic, Agony, by Mark Bayer, which is extremely original and nihilistic. And Mark Bayer is 100% a 4. And Amy and what's his name? I forget. Jordan. That's Amy, that's Jordan. And so he based it on them. And this book is, oh my God, is this comic? It's obviously by a four. And so it makes so much fucking sense.
It looks like
What? No, it's very good. I mean,
Oh.
I'm not saying that seven couldn't make it, but maybe, I mean, maybe four, seven. So, but you know, this is what the Doom generation is based on. And yeah, wow, damn, I'm like shocked right now.
Have you ever read Julie Doucette?
Yeah, oh yeah, potty mouth for sure.
I think she's like a SPSX 749 or 794 or 974 or something.
I think it's okay. I think to deny influence is ridiculous, but to make the influence you is disgusting. I mean, I'm influenced by people. I love reading things. I love being influenced, but I want to make that through me. Like I don't want to. I'm not going to just do what they did. That's disgusting. Why would I want to be David Lynch? David Lynch is already David Lynch. Like that's stupid.
It also sucks.
I like him, but I understand.
Oh, this weirdly also speaks to like super attachment, some weird journey. When I was actually like zooming out, it's like, oh yeah, like this three triple attachments probably, or at least double, that like can't separate from each other, even though they're in some weird toxic threesome or something. Like
that's super big theme in all of his movies. A like weird toxic threesome. That's weird. That's in everyone I've seen hugely. That's fucking weird.
But yeah, that probably is some kind of sexual influence, like 369 shit.
Yeah, probably.
He just had like the era's colors.
Jesus.
I hope Gregg Araki doesn't watch this.
If you're watching this, Greg, I'm disappointed in you.
It's not his fault, it's his personality type. We're all just
but
type.
I'm not disappointed in you, Greg. Actually, Greg, I respect you, but
you're doing the best you can with what you have.
You're the best you can.
This guy looks like a 9. This guy right here.
Yeah, he's cool. He's in his first 3 movies. What's his name? I forget. He wasn't really famous beyond these though.
Rose's look was so fucking good in the 90s.
Oh, she looked great. This movie, oh my God, she looks so good in the whole movie. Everyone in this movie is hot. Everyone in all his movies is super hot.
I think that definitely speaks to him being a 3-wing 4 as well. As like, actually, that probably does more than anything. It's like his aesthetic is where, even if he's cribbing it or whatever, his aesthetic is very noticeable. It's notable. It's
whereas the shit he's compiling probably didn't have a huge sexual component, and he does, so that's kind of stands out, which is interesting. Well, maybe they did. I'm not sure.
Violent and incomprehensible world. It was the first time I really felt seen. I didn't have to have those exact experiences or be in that exact place. It doesn't matter because what I'm talking about and what Gregg Araki depicts well is a feeling of the crushing weight of adolescence, of everything and everyone being such a mindfuck that attempting to find logic in its existence is a fruitless endeavor, of what it is to be young and clueless and yet expected to know and understand everything around you. Araki's expertise is that instead of relying on characters to reflect moods and states of being, he relies on the world. Instead of writing a person who represents discontent or disillusionment, he crafts worlds made up of that feeling, emotional wastelands.
3-wing 4.
Oh, wow.
Araki is one filmmaker proven to be divisive amongst audiences and critics alike. Every now and then, he'll touch upon something that becomes universally appreciated, like his 2004 adaptation of Mysterious Skin, which is beautiful and exquisite. Other times, people either love his work or they hate it. Never is there an in-between. That's part of what makes him so daring to begin with. He does his own thing without a care.
Okay, so he's probably like 3-wing 4, 6-wing
Yeah.
7, 9-wing I don't know if it's 8 or 1, to be honest.
I feel like you go either way. I'm just not sure.
8.
It seems accurate to me. Does nothing of that about that sounds off, but am I shocked at what we land on? Yes, I can. Damn. I'm disappointed, maybe a little. It's like